2 years ago, I met a guy during my singing gig in Bali on a casual Wednesday night, and today I'm moving to a country so foreign and so far away from home. Hi, my name is Witsqa, and this is my story. Before meeting him, I was so set on pursuing my master's degree in the UK, applying for a scholarship from my country. But that's the thing about me, I guess. I always have a plan for the next 5 to 10 years, but ended up being very impulsive anyway. Because who am I to limit myself from the abundance of possibility life has to offer me? Making this decision, however, was not easy. When he first brought up the idea to me, guess what? I had an anxiety attack. I was having a hard time to breathe, I became very silent, I wanted to cry, and the only thing that I did was pick up my cat and sway her side to side. What went through my mind was this: what the fuck? That means we have to get married soon. How are we going to pay for a wedding? Never move. What about my master's degree? I'm a strong, independent woman. What about my family? What about my non-profit? What about my dreams? I've been betraying this for the last 5 years. Am I doing the right thing? How do I know if I'm doing the right thing? What about my family? Well, I realized what I was feeling was fear, and all I did was making excuses for that fear. I was still afraid of this relationship because this is the first healthy relationship I've ever had. Not to mention that in that moment, we have only been dating for less than a year. I'm not saying that I don't want it though. Him asking, that made me very happy because, it did feel right. And the fact that it felt right and the fact that I wanted it too, that was the scary part. Because I feel like I shouldn't. You know that situations when you feel like your gut was telling you yes, but your head was saying no? That was one of those. There were so many what ifs, I couldn't keep up with it. This was probably one of the biggest decisions of my life, so I really needed to thread carefully. So I talked to my sister, I talked to my mom, I talked to my best friend about it, and turns out they were quite supportive. My parents were basically like, go for it. When I was younger, the options were, do I go to med school or do I go to music school? And they were never like, you have to go to med school like most Asian parents do. They were just like, well, okay, this is what happens when you do this, and this is what happens when you do that. Which one do you want for yourself, knowing all of the consequences? They always gave me back my own autonomy. All of the decisions were mine. My parents were asking me, what are you chasing? And that's true, they never really expected me to become a doctor, to get this type of degree, to have a nonprofit, to have this type of money, to be blah, blah, blah. They never really asked me to do that. All they want is for me to be happy, to live a fulfilling life for myself without the burden of my own expectations and societal expectation. They don't want to add to those. So I went back to my values. If you don't know what values is, values are basically like a guideline or like a manual for our life. It comprises of all these different principles, different things that are really important to you. It's the non-negotiables, it's the things that truly matters. And for me, I have 5 core values that I hold really closely to myself. Number 1 is love, and then growth, impact, freedom, and family. After I check all of my doubts and all of my questions, all of my worries, the conclusion is this: if I do this, it would be out of love. If I do this, it can actually push myself out of my comfort zone. If I do this, I can actually spread my impact even abroad. Maybe actually bridge Sweden and Indonesia in terms of my nonprofit. If I do this, I could actually build a comfortable and safe life for my future family, with nature, with fresh air, with better government. If I do this, I could get a new start of my life and figure out who I am, having the freedom to explore and experience life to the fullest without the pressure of always having to do and be someone. If I do this, then maybe I could actually meet the versions of myself that I never get to meet when I was still in Indonesia. So I said to him, yes, Let's do it. So here's to all of you who fears the uncertainty. Newsflash, life is uncertain. No matter what you do or where you go, uncertainties will always be there. Opportunities and losses will always come your way. Those are the things we can't control. You can't trust that everything will go the way you plan them to, no matter how much you want them to. But you can trust that even when things don't go your way, you can handle it. And at the end of the day, things will be okay. And if it's not okay, then it's not the end. For those of you who are watching this, I would invite you to ask yourself, what are your core values? What are the top 5 things that truly matters to you? Your non-negotiables, your principles, things that truly guide you back to yourself, your real self. Share in the comments down below. I would love to get to know yours. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on my next video. Sending you love from Sweden.